Dr. Hofstetter. I am a chiropractor in San Ramon, and I have a story to tell that happened very recently in 2009. Towards the end of November, I had the chance to learn about the Book of Acts. I was attending as a church member at Cornerstone in Livermore and doing volunteer work at Shepherd's Gate. I've been helping people out in Shepherd's Gate with chiropractic adjustments for the staff and for the residents there and their children. So I've been doing that for several years, and this year I joined Cornerstone, and the pastor was teaching about the Book of Acts, and every week we would learn more about the Book of Acts. And there was a person that came into my life. Her name was Denise, and I had a chance to share the teachings that I was learning. And at the end of November, she was found in her home in Oakland. She was found not breathing by a friend of hers. Mm-hmm. The blood had been building up inside her head, and it was actually coming out of her mouth and nose as well. And so the pressure was building up on her brain, and she was unconscious for a long time, and she wasn't breathing when they found her. And fortunately, the paramedics came right away and were able to keep her alive until she was rushed to the hospital at Alta Bates in Oakland, and her family was flown in. It turned out that she had suffered a severe condition called an aneurysm. She was unconscious. She was actually in a coma, and for several days. And I knew nothing about this until one of her friends started texting messages to the people that were on her telephone directory to let them know that she was in a terrible way and in a coma, and her family was being flown out from Texas to be with her. It wasn't expected, according to the doctors. They didn't know, what was going to happen. They thought they were getting ready to say goodbye to her, is what they were doing. So on a Saturday morning, when I found out about this, I felt like I needed to go there and pray. And the family was very distraught. They didn't want any visitors. And so there were priests there, and I had been praying for her health, and at one point she actually regained a little bit of consciousness, and she said my name, Dave, and she said X, Dave. And we'd been studying the Book of Acts, but the priest that was there couldn't quite understand what she was saying because her voice was so weak, and she was barely conscious, and she was he was trying to understand what she said, and he said, "Ask, Dave," and what does that mean? And so nobody knew who Dave was, and nobody knew that it was the Book of Acts that she wanted me to read to her a prayer. So anyway, Saturday came, and I came down to the hospital, but I couldn't see her, so I got on the phone with her sister, and her sister was very upset about her condition, and I said, well, why don't we just say a prayer right now to restore her and ask God to restore her health and make her whole, and this would just be for the glory of God, to just show the power of God, and so we prayed, and the sister was across the room when she was listening to my prayer, and as soon as we finished the prayer, she said, Denise's legs are starting to move. She's moving her legs, and she hadn't done this at all, and actually she started moving, and within an hour she was standing and walking, and she had her full faculties with her, and they took her back down for another CAT scan, an MRI, and everything showed normal, and they couldn't figure it out. The doctors were just amazed, and it was just a total turnaround in her condition right after that prayer. And so we were just so elated that her health was restored, and we knew it was God's work.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing how quickly she came back. And that was just the glory of God, just the Holy Spirit at work, just like in the book of Acts. I think somehow in her consciousness she knew that that's where the power was to help her, and that's what she wanted, was a prayer from somebody, I guess, who could say a prayer like that, and it was the Holy Spirit working, and it's the first time I've ever witnessed anything like that, but it just shows that God's power and glory is just as strong now as it ever has been.
Wow.